Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com and we're here with episode number 16 in our incredible new tutorial series where you're unleashing the power of your Raspberry Pi Pico W. What I will need you to do is pour yourself a nice tall glass of ice cold coffee. That would be straight up black coffee poured over ice, no sugar, no sweeteners, none needed. And as you're pouring your coffee, as always, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Sunfounder. Sunfounder is actually sponsoring this most excellent series of video lessons. And in this class, we are using the Kepler kit for Raspberry Pi Pico W from Sunfounder. Now, most of you guys probably already have your gear, but if you don't, look down in the description. There is a link over to Amazon. You can hop on over there and pick up your gear. And believe me, your life and my life are going to be a whole lot easier if we are working on identical hardware. But enough of this shameless self-promotion. Let's jump in and talk about what I am going to teach you today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my solution to the homework assignment that I gave you in lesson number 15. But I must first ask, how many of you guys were successful? If you were successful in doing the homework assignment, leave a comment down below. I am legend. Double chest bump. And if you were not successful, leave a comment down below. I folded up like a cheap Walmart lawn chair. Now, actually, I hope most of you guys were able to do the homework because I'd really shown you the individual little things that you would need to know in order to do the homework, and you were just putting together things that you've learned in earlier lessons. So hopefully most of you guys were successful. What was the homework? The homework was to hook up an RGB LED to your Raspberry Pi Pico W and then write a program that would prompt a user for a series of colors, a sequence of colors that the user wants to see. And then the Raspberry Pi Pico W would go in and sequence those colors through the LEDs. So if the user said, I want 3 colors, red, green, and blue, then the Raspberry Pi Pico W would go over and take the LED and turn it red and then green and then blue, and then maybe repeat red, green, blue, red, green, blue. Repeat that sequence that the user had specified. So I'm hoping that most of you guys were successful there, but let's look real quickly how I hooked the circuit up. We've used the RGB LED before, so this shouldn't be a huge surprise. What I did was I used, for convenience, I used the pins, the GPIO pins, 15, 14, then the next one is ground, and then 13. So 15, 14, ground, and 13 on the GPIO pins. And the way I had it have it hooked up, if you look up there, or if you look at the schematic, you can see that I've got the red leg of the LED connected to pin 13. I've got the green leg of the LED hooked up to pin 14, and then the blue leg of the LED I hooked up to pin 13. And over here on the schematic, you can see I kind of color coded it that when that longest leg is to the left, that's ground, and then the pin to the left of that is red. So I used a red wire, then ground, then green, then blue. So we've done this before. If this doesn't make sense, go back and watch one of the earlier lessons I did on the RGB LED. So it's hooked up. I think we are ready to jump in and start coding this thing. And let's see if I can get this a little bit more suitably placed. Okay, that looks pretty good, so you can continue to see that as we move forward. I might zoom in on it in a little bit so you can see a little better. But let's jump in and let's get this thing programmed up. So what strategy are we going to take? Well, if we're going to create a sequence of colors, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have to ask the user how many colors in his sequence. Then if he says 5, then you're going to have a for loop that goes through and ask him for each one of the colors in his sequence. And then once you have that array, that has the color sequence, then you just step through the color sequence in another for loop, and you just step through it and apply those colors, okay? Hope that makes sense. But we're going to be working with the GPIO pin, so certainly we're going to, from machine, import pin. And also, I don't know if I'm going to be turning those RGB channels fully on and fully off. I might need to tweak them a little bit. So we're going to do this with PWM instead of digital values. And now from time, we are going to import sleep like that. And then we're going to set it up. Like I said, we had the red LED pin was connected to GPIO pin 13. We had the green leg of the LED connected to GPIO pin 14, and then we had the blue leg of the LED connected to GPIO pin 15. Okay, and again, like you see, each one of those channels goes through a 330 ohm resistor, current limiting resistor, so that we don't cause any problems with burning out the LED or possibly burning out one of our GPIO pins on the Pico W. Don't forget your current limiting resistors. Okay, now let's go in and create the actual PWM channel. So I'm going to have the red LED channel, and that is going to be PWM. PWM of what? PWM of the pin. And which pin? The red pin. The red pin, like that. Close the pin, close the PWM. Green LED is going to be PWM. And PWM of which pin? Of the green pin. Okay, and then finally blue LED is going to be equal to PWM of pin, which one? Blue pin. Hopefully I'm going fast, and I'm hoping I'm not making a lot of mistakes. So now I've got the LED pin set up, I've got the PWM channel set up, and now what I think I want to do is go in and set the frequency for those PWM channels. So I'm going to say the red LED channel, and I'm going to do a dot frequency, and that is going to be 1,000 hertz. And you can set it to whatever you want. 1,000 is plenty fast that you don't see any blinking, and so it's just a round number. It works well. There's nothing particularly magic about it. So we'll go on with the green LED dot frequency, and we'll make that 1,000 hertz as well. Close it. Blue LED. And I think it would work better if I use the standard frequency instead of frequency. Okay, blue LED frequency, make that 1,000. Okay, and now what I think I'm going to do is go in and set the duty cycles. And so I'm going to say the red LED dot duty underscore unsigned int 16 bits, and this is a 16-bit number, so it's going to go from 0 to 65,535, and so I'll just start with them off. Okay, I'll start with everything off. Red, blue LED dot duty underscore unsigned 16, make that 0 bits, and then red. I'd like to go in the right order. I'm sorry. Red, green, blue. Okay, and now we'll have blue LED dot duty underscore unsigned 16, and that is going to be 0 as well. Let's just run this and see if we have any errors. I like to try to run the code as I go. Now, it shouldn't do anything. It should just everything be off, but let's make sure we don't get any errors. Pin was not defined. Indeed, we have an error in line 8. Where is that? PIN, right there. Had my finger on that shift key a little bit too long, huh? A little bit too long on that shift key. Okay, so now let's see if we'll run it. Okay, and nothing happened and no error. So that looks good. So now what I want to do is I just want to make sure the circuit's right. And so I want to make sure that I can turn the red channel, the green channel, and the blue channel on, because this would be a really easy time to debug the circuit. So I like to debug the hardware with very simple software. And so let's come in and let's just turn the red LED on. 16-bit number is between 0 and 65,535. So let's go on all the way. 65,535, like that. 65,535. Now this should be red, and let's see what happens. Boom, it is red. Now you don't see it real well, so I'm going to see if I can put this little cap on top of it, kind of like a little lampshade. And then let's see if I can kind of zoom in a little bit. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. Man, it still looks a lot better in person than it does on video. Okay, it looks a lot better in person than it does in video, but I think you can clearly see that that is red. Now let's make sure, I'm going to copy that number, and let's make sure that the blue works, or the green works, and so I'll come in, and I'll put this in for green, and now let's run that, and boom, it is green, and now let's put it in as blue. Blue duty cycle full on. Okay, and now let's run it. Okay, red, green, blue. So I know that my circuit is right. I know I've got my channel set up right. Now I can go in and just do the fun part, which is building my for loops to create this sequence of colors. Okay, so this should be pretty straightforward. Now, what I am going to do is I am going to start by, I'm going to build a color array, and that color array is going to have the names of the colors that the user wants. And so the user might say, I want red, green, blue, then red, 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 then blue, red, green, cyan, red, yellow, blue. He can specify whatever sequence of colors he wants. But if you're going to do that, the first thing you got to know is how many colors does he want. And so let's start with that. And I'm going to say, I'm also going to go ahead and create an empty array color array. And this is where we're going to hold the sequence of colors, and it's just going to be an empty array. Why do I need to do that? Because remember, to add to the array, we use the append command, but to append to an array, we've got to have an array to begin with. So I'm just going to create an empty array, color array. Now let's see, how many numbers does he want? How many colors does he want? So I'll say num colors is going to be, it's a number, so I need to take the int of the input of the prompt string, which is how many colors in your sequence. Okay, question mark, space, close the string, close the input, close the int. Okay, and that looks good. Now, maybe he says he wants 6 colors. I need to go get the 6 colors from him. And then I need to prompt him to be putting those colors in. So how would I do that? In a for loop. Okay, so I'll say for I. You could say any index you want. I'm just using I as my index. For I in range. And we're going to start where 0. We're going to go to where num colors, and we're going to increment by 1. But you say, but it stops 1 before num colors. Yeah, but I started at 0, so I want it to stop 1 before num colors. So, it's sort of like, if there's 5 colors, how would I input 5 colors? I would go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so I would stop at 4, and I would have all 5 colors. And so in a crazy sort of way, the way that they do this actually kind of makes sense. Okay, so we're going to say for I in range 0 to num colors, increment of 1. We put a colon to start the for loop. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say my color is equal to input, and this I'm not inting because this is going to be a string. It reads a string and I want a string, so I just do the input. And then it says, let's see, enter your color, like that. Enter your color. Or I'll say, what is your color? What is your color? Question mark, space, close the string, close the input, and now I have my color. But what we got to see is they could type in like RED, or they could type in RED or RED. And so we want to make sure if they entered this differently that we're always capturing what the color is. And so I'm just going to convert whatever they did to lowercase. So I'm going to say my color, however they entered it, is my color, however they entered it, dot convert it to lowercase. So no matter how they entered it, it's now going to be all lowercase. Okay, now what do I need to do? I've got my color as a string. I need to now do what? Put it in the array. How do I do that? Color array. We learned it last week. Dot append. What do I want to append? My color. So let's see. What we need to see is we need to see that color array is the list of colors. My color is the last entered individual color. So that last entered individual color, I am appending to the array color array. And that should work. I think that should work. Okay, now we've got the list of colors that they want to sequence through. And so now what we can do is we've got to decide, do we want to just go through that list one time? If we did, then we would just say for color in color array. So we would step through that array and then it would step through it one time. Or do we want to constantly repeat the sequence that they asked for? I think it would be neater to just continue to repeat the sequence. So I'm going to put the whole thing in an array while true. Okay, while true. And now I'm going to say for color in color array. So I'm going to step through the colors. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I am now going to decide, I'm going to look at the individual color, and then I'm going to turn the LED that color. So now that I have a color, I'm going to say if color equal red, if color equal red, what would I do? Well, I would set, if I need to close that, come over, enter, and now I need to say if color, or I'm sorry, I already did the if color. I need to set the brightnesses. So he wants it red, so I'm going to set red bright is equal to 65, 535 because I want red full on. Then green bright, I'm going to set to 0, and then blue bright, I'm going to set to 0. Now, why do I set those even though I'm not using green and blue? The last color might have been blue, so when you got here, the blue would already be on, so we need to turn it off. Okay, so now if color equal red, I've set the brightnesses, now I need to apply them. So I'm going to say red LED dot do T underscore U16, and then red bright. Okay, and then I also need to say blue red green LED dot duty underscore U16, and then that is green bright. Okay, and then blue LED dot duty underscore U16 is going to be blue bright, like that. Okay, this should turn it red if I am thinking about it right, unless I've made some mistakes in there. Again, let's go ahead and let's run this. Let's just run this to make sure that this part of it works, that we're kind of thinking about this thing right. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to run. How many colors do you want the sequence? I want one color. And then what color do I want? I want red. Okay, and then it turned it red. That's good. Okay, that's good. That looks pretty good so far. Okay, I think what I would like to do is, I think that I would like to up here print color array just to make sure that it's building it and doing sort of what I expect. That we can take that out later, but I want to see, I just want to make sure that it is building that array the way I expect it to. So now this whole thing, that's taken care of. Red, I think that we can copy that and we can paste it. And this time red, this time we'll just say green. Now we don't have to change any of this stuff down here. What we want to just do is we just want to turn on green, okay? And so this is going to be 0, and we'll turn green on the full 16 bits. And so that, I think I'm confident enough. Let's do red, green, and blue, and then we'll check it on those 3, and then we'll go in and put the other colors in. So I will paste. I forgot that I'd done that. So here I am going to copy. Here I am going to paste. Okay, and so I've got red, I've got green, and this one will be blue, and the blue is going to be turn red off, turn green off, and then make blue 65,535, and that should be full blue. So let's run this and just see if this works. Okay, so we're going to run it. How many colors? I want 3, and then what I want is red, I want green, and I want blue. You see how I'm entering them crazy, but even though I'm entering them crazy, you see it's fixing them, and so my if statements will work. So blue, and now we're going to look. Whoa, what do we see here? It is going much too fast. Why? Because we did not put any delays in there, so we can go in and fix that. And so here what we are going to say is, let's leave them on for a second. So I'll say sleep 1, and then I will sleep 1, and then I will sleep 1, like that. Okay, now let's run it again. Okay, how many colors? I want 3. What do I want? Red, green, blue, all entered in crazy ways. And now let's watch. Red, green, blue, red, green, blue. Giddy up. Okay, that's really cool. Now the next ones, I think we're on a roll here. I think the next ones are going to be easy. Let's stop this. Let's copy blue. And now I need to do cyan, magenta, and yellow, and orange and off. So these will go really quick. So I'm going to paste. Okay, and that is blue, blue. So red, green, blue, this is cyan, and cyan is blue and green, 65,535, like that. So cyan should be green and blue. And now this one is going to be one of my favorite of all colors, which is magenta. And so cyan, this will be magenta, and magenta is red and blue. So 65,535. No green in this one. Okay, and that should be good. Come back here. Now we're going to do yellow. Okay, we are going to do yellow, and yellow, cyan, magenta, yellow. Yellow is going to be red and green. So we're going to turn blue off. We're going to turn red all the way on, 65,535. Now green is really strong, so I don't want to turn green all the way on, because if I do, it's not going to look yellow. It's going to look very greenish. And so I think I need to take green down to probably about 35,000. About halfway, and that should be about yellow. And now orange, I want to turn green down even more, because orange is kind of yellow tending towards red. So orange is kind of between yellow and red. And so what I will do for cyan, magenta, what happened to my yellow? I thought I just did yellow. Okay, we'll fix that. I must have pasted over. So yellow is going to be 65, 535. And then this we said would be 35,000. And this blue is going to be off. Okay, the blue is going to be off. And now cyan, magenta, yellow. Now we are going to do orange. So I will copy. I will come here. I will paste. And this one is going to be orange. And orange, I'm going to turn the green down even further so that more red will be coming out. So I think I'll turn this to about 10,000. And we might have to tweak those a little bit. And then finally, we need to give an off possibility. So we will come in and we will do the off case. So I will right mouse click, I will paste, and then this one will be off. And off would be a 0, 0, 0, the triple knots. Okay, now let's see if this thing's actually going to run. I hope this works. I really hope it works. Okay, so I'm going to run it. How many colors do we want? Red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow. That's 6. Orange is 7. And off is 8. So we're going to do 8 values. Okay, and then we're going to do red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow, orange, and off. Now, all eyes on the LED, and let's click enter. And we got red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow, orange, and off. And guys, I really like the yellows and oranges. Those came out just really very well. And again, still this LED, even with this little lampshade, this dropper bottle cap posing as a lampshade really helps you see this a lot. In person, the colors look even better. It's just really hard to capture the brilliance of these RGB LEDs when we're recording with a video camera. But you guys, a lot of you guys have struggled with that as well. Okay, guys, man, this has been a fun lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. The fishermen are out. I love looking out and seeing the fishermen working in the river there. But guys, I'm not going to give you a homework assignment this week. Next week, what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to use the push button. Okay, and so we've learned how to do digital writes. We've learned how to simulate analog writes using PWM. We've learned how to do analog reads using the onboard analog to digital converters. And so we've done all that. The one thing we need to learn how to do now is a digital read, where we could read the position of a switch or we could read the position of a push button. And then we've got all the different methods of input, all the different methods of output. And then what I think we can do is we can go in and start playing around with some of the other more interesting components in the kit. We start with the LEDs and we start with the potentiometers because those are low cost and they're good components to learn on. We've learned the basics of the programming, and so now what we'll do is we'll start going in and having some more fun with all those different components in there. Okay, guys, I hope you're having as much fun taking these lessons as I am making them. If you enjoyed the lesson, give us a thumbs up. Always helps us with the old YouTube juice if you'll leave a comment down below showing that the viewers are interested. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, subscribe. When you do, make sure you ring that bell so you'll get notifications when my future classes release. And finally, most importantly, share this video with other people, because the world needs more people doing engineering and fewer people sitting around watching silly cat videos. Paul McWhorter with TalkTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.